guys, this is gonna be kind of a serious video for me. So if you're not really comfortable with this kind of talk, then I would recommend you click off because that's what we're going to be doing. And I will also be getting out of cosplay. So I have a mental illness known as hypersexuality, and I want to talk about it because I feel like it's not something that I should hide. Basically, hypersexuality is a mental illness where you are obsessed with things that are sexual, whether it be a song, a video, just anything can seem sexual to you. What happens is there's a chemical in the brain, I can't really remember the name of it, but basically something happens due to trauma. Most of the time. It can happen if without any trauma, but most of the time due to trauma, a chemical in the brain will act out and get rid of another one. And it's basically one that controls your horny is an odd way of saying it, but I guess that's more or less what it is. It gives you uncontrollable urges. Mentally uncontrollable, physically controllable to some degree. It's really hard to describe because I've had it for so long that it's just kind of no questions asked to me. You're not necessarily horny all the time, you're obsessed with it. And it's not something that you want, it's not something that's cool. It's not a superpower, and these are all things I've gotten comments on my TikToks about my hypersexuality that I later deleted. It's not fun, you don't want it, you probably don't have it if you're just horny all the time. I'm usually very chill. I don't actually voluntarily feel that sort of way often. I mean, I do, because, it's just nature, and it's healthy, too. But it's not healthy when you're obsessed, and that's what I am. It doesn't necessarily mean that I want it, because I don't, but I have it, so I have to deal with it. And basically, it's just an obsession. It's not necessarily something that you would want. In my opinion. I know a lot of people in my comment section that one day definitely wanted it, which is very concerning to me because it's a mental illness and a fucking superpower. I digress. Basically, hypersexuality can give you urges, whether that be mental or physical. An example of a mental urge would be getting a fantasy about doing something to someone, whether it be your friend or pretty much anybody, someone you're walking by in school, for example, and you've never met them before, you've never talked to them, you just see them, and that could be it. They could be one of your sexual mental victims. It's not fun. Some people think you're living out a Wattpad story, and it's nothing like anything you would want. I call them my ghosts, but you can, in my experience, you see yourself acting out these urges. And it could be so not you. It's not you. It's just a whole other monster. And you just see it happen, and that could be a mental urge right there. An example of a physical urge would be where your body literally has no self-control, that you get up to act on these urges. It's just upsetting. I've been there, and I've never actually done anything that my hypersexuality has told me to do, physically, but I've gotten close, I guess I would say. Basically if, say I was sitting and I had one of these urges, I would get up and I would go to act it out. But I have been dealing with this so long that I know how to stop myself. But sometimes I fear I can't. And that is the most concerning part to me, is that, will I stop this time? Will I get a hold of myself and not do something I will 100% regret because of an obsession that isn't even mine? As you can see, it's not something you want. And there might still be people out there who are like, no, I still want this because my life is so boring. And it might just give me a tad bit of love or something, but that's the thing about hypersexuality. Usually it goes hand in hand with being emotionally unavailable with love. Usually in hypersexuality, you will completely disregard love, and any kind of form of love would be any sexual or lustful kind of feelings. It's not fun. I would not wish this on anybody, because it's terrifying to think that one day you might actually hurt somebody you really love because of some stupid mental illness. It's terrifying. I wanted to make a YouTube video because TikToks are just too short and I can't explain all of my feelings in one 60-second video. I guess that's pretty much what it is. Coping mechanisms are really interesting for me. One way that I cope is I will usually draw, whether it's digitally or traditionally. I will draw yaoi, and I know romanticizing MLM or WLW isn't a good thing. It's just my way of coping, and I don't mean harm on anybody by doing it. So I will usually draw it, or if I get what I call my ghosts, or what is better known as a fantasy in my head. I just don't like referring to them as fantasies because I don't see it as something by definition as a fantasy. And I will write it down, like in notes or something small and private. And I'll write down every single detail that I can remember, and I'll reread it, and not because I want to be horny, because I don't, I am obsessed with it and I can't help myself. But I'd rather reread fantasies than act them out, which is hopefully understandable to you guys. Another way that I cope, aside from reading it, writing it, and drawing it, would have to be flirting with my friends quite often. And they know about this because I have been so comfortable to tell them about this. And I'm really thankful that I have friends like that who I can trust. A part of my life is I'll flirt with my friends and it'll get very intense, and I told them, I'm sorry, I just have to have an outlet with other people, and if you get uncomfortable, let me know immediately because I will stop. And all of my friends are usually okay with it. And it doesn't mean I do this to all my friends, it just means some of them, which is kind of weird because you would think it would be all of them, but apparently my brain has a weird way of working. So yeah, flirting with people that I trust is definitely a huge one. Porn is a big one. My last way of coping that I was really stalling for was giving myself hickeys, because it's much more physical and can involve people around you. It's not something that I'm proud of, but it just kind of calms my obsession for some time. So if you did look at my arms, and I'm not gonna show them, but if you did look at my arms, you would see a whole lot of shit. It's nothing that I'm scared to show, it's just I don't feel it's necessary to be included in this video. So I also color my hair often, but I don't think that's anything to do with my hypersexuality. It's just, I don't know, expressing myself. That's it. That's hypersexuality. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I would not recommend going around saying you have this if you do understand what I'm going through completely until you have a diagnosis, because it's not really smart to go saying you have a mental illness that people are suffering from if you don't really know that you have it. And please don't ever say it's cool. That's all for today. Bye-bye.